and welcome back to Fox Sports Lab NRL for 2024. I'm Eloise Sawyer and pleased to say that I'm once again joined by Josh Morris for another epic season right here each and every week. We'll be breaking down all the games. Josh, great to have you back alongside me.
Oh, it's good to be back. We're in the last few days of summer, but that means that footy is back, and we see next week the first ever competition games being played in America. So, cannot wait for the season to start. I am pumped.
Absolutely. I'm so jealous that you're heading over to Sin City to be there and part of all the action. But let's get straight into 2024, Josh. I want to get your thoughts broadly on who the best clubs, in your opinion, have recruited well in terms of players and also to coaches.
Yeah, well, we'll start with the coaches, Eloise. I think the Dragons and the Titans have probably done their best work in getting Shane Flanagan to the Dragons and Des Hasler to the Titans. I think Flano will really get his teeth sunk into that team, and they'll play a different style of football. It'll be a lot grittier, and he'll also get the salary cap in order as well. Whereas Des, we know about the Titans' attacking prowess, but it's always been their defence. Des is a defensive-minded coach. He will get that in order, and we'll see a very different looking Titans side. In terms of the players, I really like what the Dolphins have done. They've gone out and got Herbie Farnworth and Thomas Flegler from the Brisbane Broncos. I think they're really going to bolster their side. But the one that I'm most pleased with is Stephen Crichton at the Bulldogs. The Bulldogs, they've secured a number of players, but he's a three-time premiership winner, and just today he's been made captain of the club. So I think those two clubs are in for a better season this year.
Promising sides for all of those clubs that you just named for 2024, Josh. Okay, well, next up, of course, we want to talk about the biggest movers, obviously, from 2023 into 2024. Where do you see the biggest shift coming along that ladder?
Yeah, I like the Titans. I really think they can move their way up the table, as I spoke about with Des Hasler being head coach there now. They have had the attack. They have some really quality players in their side. But what Des will bring, he'll bring that defensive edge to their side, and he'll also make the players, that they'll believe in themselves a lot more, which will make them better. So I can really see the Titans having a big year, and they may sneak into the eight.
Yeah, what about also to the Warriors? We know that Roger Tuivasa-Sheck has rejoined the Warriors in 2024. We saw what sort of role they went in with in 2023, especially in that finals run. Do you expect to see them finish higher up the ladder and potentially even at the top two come the end of the season?
Well, I'm not so certain on this one, Eloise. I know the Warriors did have a great year, and Sean Johnson was at the forefront of that. He's another year older. It all hinges on his availability throughout the year. If we see Sean Johnson miss a number of games, well, then I think the Warriors' chances get hurt by that. So I actually have them as one of the teams that will be on the slide this year.
Just lastly, what about the Premiers? We've got to talk about Penrith because obviously they had such a strong roster. They've lost Stephen Crichton in the offseason. We know that Jerome Luai is heading off after 2024. Do you see them staying up and around that top four position?
Yeah, well, I think we've seen it time after time in the last 3 years. They lose quality players, and they just pick someone up from their system that's been playing in reserve grade, and they come in and do just as good a job. So I don't have any concerns about Penrith. I think they'll still be up there in the top four this year.
I imagine if they could go for a fourth premiership, that would be incredible. Well, moving on now, let's talk about the top captains. Leadership is obviously so instrumental in a game like rugby league to have a leader out there on the park and also to behind closed doors. In terms of some of the leaders we have in the NRL for 2024, who impresses you most?
Yeah, look, I think you have to look at Penrith as being the top there with Isaiah Yeo and Nathan Cleary. To be able to get three back-to-back premierships, their leadership has come to the forefront throughout those 3 years, and you only need to look at what Nathan Cleary did in last year's grand final, pretty much put them on his shoulders and came away with the victory single-handedly. So that they are my top captains, but there are a number. I think James Tedesco is another one. For himself, he said last year wasn't his best year, but he still had a fantastic year. He's his harshest critic, and he'll be pumped for a big year. And on the back of Jared Warrior-Hargraves signing off at the end of this year, I think Teddy will want to have a big year and ensure that they play finals football this year. The other captains I've got, Adam Reynolds. I mean, we all know what he's like, and probably similar to Daly Cherry Evans, those older heads, they are able to steer their team around and keep them calm and focused on the game plan and get the best out of their players. So they're in my top five. And I've also got Harry Grant in there. I know he's only just been named Melbourne Storm captain, but he's been a leader at that club for a number of years and from a very early age. So I'm looking forward to watching his leadership flourish this year.
Yeah, absolutely. It will be exciting to see them. Of course, Stephen Crichton as well. The Bulldogs, can't wait to see them all in action. Of course, also too, you mentioned Adam Reynolds. He's reportedly signed an extension up there at Red Hill. So hopefully he can lead them for a couple more years to come. Well, let's take a look at the over and unders of the season, Josh, because I want you to make a call on the Storm at 13.5 is the line, over or under?
Yeah, I like them for the overs here. Otherwise, I still think that they're a quality football side. You can never write off a Craig Bellamy side. And I think that they'll be around that top 4 mark again, and they'll be overs.
Eels at 11.5.
Yeah, look, this was a tough one, but I've sided with the unders. I just don't see them having as successful years as what they have had previously. So they're missing my top 8 this year, so I'm going to have them unders.
Bulldogs 10.5. We know what sort of recruitment they've been doing in the off season.
Yeah, look, I'd love to say overs in this one, but I've gone the unders as well in this one. It won't be far off, but I think, the Doggies are in for a better season.
And obviously the Titans, 10.5, the same as the Bulldogs, overs and unders?
Yeah, I've gone overs in this one. I think those two teams were they'll be around that mark, I think, but I've just gone the Desi factor to get them in the overs line there.
And you touched earlier about the Dolphins and obviously the Broncos recruits that they've got, 10.5 over or unders for the Dolphins under Wayne Bennett.
Yeah, I've gone unders in this one. I mean, we saw throughout last year their injuries and suspensions come in, but their forwards are another year older. They have an aging roster, so I just don't think that they can get that number of wins under their belt. So I've gone the unders on that one.
Well, let's take a look more broadly at the tips for premiership, grand finalists. Do you think there could be a smoky in 2024? Panthers currently sit at $3.75 to go around one more time. Would you put your money behind that one?
I would. I think they can get the job done again for a 4th time, which is remarkable. We talk about the number of players that they've let go in the last 3 or 4 years, but they're still able to produce. I can see it being a grand final rematch. I think the Panthers and the Broncos were head and shoulders the 2 best teams last year. There's no reason why they can't match up again this year at the end of the year. But for a smoky, I've gone Newcastle at $26. We saw them finish, with so much momentum, and they missed Kalen throughout large parts of the year. I really like what Adam O'Brien's building up there in the Hunter, and if they can keep Kalen on the field for the whole year, well, then they become a very, very real prospect of knocking over these teams. And for the top 8, I've got a smoky in the Titans to make the top 8 as well.
Wow, Titans sneaking into the top 8, the Knights potentially coming home and taking out the premiership, or it's a rematch from last year. Plenty of big calls ahead of the 2024 season. Josh Morris, thanks so much for your time, as always.
Thanks, Eloise.
What are you really gambling with? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.